On this episode, we're talking to Massi Zitti from Mother in Toronto, where we talk the power of fermenting your own ingredients, how to build a strong team in a small business, a little jiu-jitsu, and a little music. Massi, cheers.
To you. You made this. Someone finally is making a cocktail for me.
Yeah, in your place. That's rare.
In my home place.
Yeah, this cocktail is still experimental. It's not finished, but it is...
Coconut wash?
It is a coffee-infused Hennessy VS,
Yes.
then coconut fat-washed, with a little bit, it's like 2 ounces of that, 1/4 ounce of pineapple liqueur,
Yes.
a teaspoon of maple syrup,
Yes.
2 dashes of chocolate bitters, and 1 dash of lime bitters. I was kind of going for, like, I love a little bit of coffee on top of, like, coffee sprinkles on top of a pina colada.
Yes.
So I was kind of going in that direction.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
But as old-fashioned.
Santé.
Santé. Oh, and then the orange twist.
I wish cognac was Italian. I would be so proud about it.
Yeah, but I think I've said it to a lot of people that, like, between the Italians and the French,
Yes.
you kind of have everything.
Yes.
That anybody wants. It's two different cooking styles,
For sure.
but almost very complementary if you're doing like a tasting menu.
For sure. There's my wife is French.
Yeah.
My daughter is French. I lived in France.
Wait, your daughter's French, not Italian?
No,
She just
Italian.
totally
She
gave up your
depends.
side of the
when,
DNA?
When the World Cup plays, she actually Italian fan, which I don't understand why. Also, she'd never seen Italy at the World Cup because for the last 8 years we didn't perform at all. But this is beautiful love and hate between Italians and French with a very high level on respect of craftsmanship that I personally admire and love so much. Because in Italian, I'm obviously pure Italian, but I love French cuisine. Like, I do think the French cuisine is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying better or worse because, I grew up with some certain flavors and you will never forget the way that you grew up with. But at the same time, technique, they create an academy out of, food. So some of my favorite chefs, they cook French food. Like, there's also, I don't know if you agree with this, but there's this kind of idea that if you're not French trained as a chef, you're kind of missing out.
Yeah, I think as you talk about it, it's almost like the French are a little bit more science driven in it.
Yes.
Like, they didn't know the science. We now know it a little
Yes.
bit more. Heston Blumenthal famously said, like, we know more about what happens on the surface of the moon than we know about what's inside our souffle.
For sure.
But
True story.
But now we know more of that stuff, and it seems like the French had it right, whether through trial and error back
Yes.
then. But the Italians are like the artists
For
in
sure.
the kitchen. There's no, it's like art is up to interpretation. They're playing with like a handful
Yes.
of really great ingredients and doing magical things with them. Whereas the French are like,
Yes, do this, plus this, plus this. I actually have a great story about that. My grandmother was an exceptional cooker, like exceptional. She had recipes, her own book. And so I remember I was like 10 and I asked her, like, why are you so good in the kitchen? And she said, because I'm the second daughter of 4 sisters. And all we had to do when we were a kid was we were women. So we were providing food for workers and families. So they basically ran a kitchen for 15 years that wasn't selling food, but was providing food. So they basically together with the family and other families, they create this map of flavors, profile, and recipes that, that we're making it constantly. So Italian food comes really from those basic element of providing.
yeah,
French cuisine, in my opinion, comes from create a restaurant recipe, make it, look luxury, more luxury for sure. So I do believe this is a huge difference between the two cuisines and how that they develop and in the past years. Now it's pretty different. I'm talking about post-war.
Yeah.
Now there's some incredible Italian restaurants and incredible French restaurants. But this is the biggest thing between Italy and France. Apart the languages, and Italians are more good looking. Don't tell.
I don't know. French
I don't
women.
know. No. I'm saying Italians like men.
Yeah.
Men. I would never dare. No, I would be wrong.
Yeah.
My life proved you that I would be wrong.
Yeah.
I like French.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, but then, so I used to say it was just the French and the Italians, and then I went to Japan, and the Japanese are just. They are playing with a whole nother level. Like the French and the Italians stumbled on umami in different ways.
For sure. We hate it.
Parmesan is most famous for that.
Yes.
But the Japanese have just nailed umami umami is the word comes from over there. And
for sure.
All of those flavors, it's so prominent they made it another sensory element that your
flavor
taste,
profile. But that's also because they seek perfection in anything they do. Mm-hmm. Italians don't, for instance. We do like craftsmanship. We do like putting a lot of time into things. Like I honestly do the same. Things that I love, I will never be tired of. Mm-hmm. I could do it for a very long time. Also, you build your stamina day by day, right? They have this crazy sick of perfection, which is actually sometimes could be very bad for you, because what's perfection?
Yeah,
that's like you maybe think you're let's say musically speaking, you are an amazing guitarist, you can play all the songs, and after there's a kid called Jimi Hendrix that come and it's a free spirit, and he's not seeking for perfection, he just fucking does it.
Yeah,
and you go, oh, I'm not the perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not the best. So it's a very fascinating part of the culture there. From an outsider, I totally admire and respect it.
Yeah.
From an insider, I don't know how much that is good for you.
Yeah. I think when we look at it from a cocktail perspective, it's like, I like this cocktail, but I need to share it with people whose palates I respect to see if they like it as well. Because it's like famously, nobody would want a cocktail bar made for just bartenders, because it would just be all Amaro heavy, bitter drinks.
And also, it might be, a little bit boring for the actual person that works behind the bar.
Which is making the same profile.
It's another part that, for instance, I personally love to explore different things all the time. Flavor profile, techniques, glassware, ice. Build the bar as a team, as actually aesthetics, logo, projection of ideas. It's all a kind of a moving forward process, and if you stuck, sometimes we all have our preferences, but you need to understand other people's preferences too. You want a bar that is busy, apart if you label it for, an industry bar, which is, we love industry bars. I'm a big fan. 80-90% of people, though, they don't follow just industry bars. They come to Toronto, they go to New York, or they go to big cities to explore what's the best. Not necessarily the thing that we think is the best are the best for others. And this is something that, I learned in 24 years in this industry and other industries. When you see other people succeeding a lot in what they do, is because they embrace a very different ideas of what's perfect or what's good for everybody.
So take us back 24 years. Like, how'd you start in this industry, and then why did you stay in it?
I stayed it because I loved it from day one. It's actually a beautiful connection that I had immediately with people. I've always been a person that likes people. I like, I always say to my friends in Rome, I was always the guy that was organizing the party at home. I always opened my house, and you can ask to all my friends. My house, when my mom would go away for a weekend, I just opened the doors, and this is my house, and don't ruin it, but let's have fun, or let's be together. And I think the first time that I worked in a bar, I felt like this. I used to actually work for my mom when I was 12 years old. So I come from two different families. So my mom's family and my father's family. My mom's family are fishermen, so they used to own several fish shops. So I grew up in a market, lots of flavors, lots of ideas. The world back in the day, there was no organic. It was that guy grows in his garden and he sell it to you, which is, I believe, was the beauty of having fresh ingredients. Forget about organic, non-organic. It knows how to grow it.
It was naturally organic
Grow
until
it.
it wasn't.
Exactly. Grow it for generations, all this kind of little things. My grandfather was a fisherman. My mom, my uncle, they took over the business. I worked there. My grandfather also was that kind of person that, what are you doing? I'm like, Dad, today I have this. Grandfather, you come and work with us. It's like, why? Because you got to learn. One day you're going to work for me or for someone else. And then it was, the kind of point. And my father, finishing the story. My father is a pianist, so a musician. Did that all his life. My grandfather was a musician. My brother's a musician. So we all this kind of, artistic vision or, understanding that you got to work with your mind as much as with your body. When I was 14, my grandfather, after 2 summers that I was working there, bear in mind I was going to school, my grandfather came to me and was like, you should leave us. And I was like, why? I was like, nah, this is not your place. I was like, why? Because you don't want to work for your mom. You want to work for yourself. You want to go and work for someone else that slaps you, tells you what to do, and doesn't treat you like your mom treats you. Your mom will always create excuses for you. They always treat you because it's your mom. Go and work for someone else. And one thing I learned very early in life, and I always said that to my daughter and to all the people out there, listen to people who loves you. Because if they love you, they want your best. Sometimes it's the hardest word, right? Like they will tell you, go away from here and go there. You're like, why? We make money, like apart the wealth. We are in a family business. It's great. But maybe someone else sees things in your eyes that you don't see. And that guy, so my grandfather, so me wanted more. And I start to work for someone else. And my first job, I was 14 years old. And a friend of mine left this bar. It was a coffee and cappuccino bar. Get up at 7 a.m. Actually, get up at 6 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays after 5 days of school and go and work. And I was working with, an older guy that was like 40 years old. And he was, into his cappuccino cornetto. Has been doing it for like years. And I learned so much, man. It was great. Like, I understand first and foremost how a 45 years old man was thinking about that industry. I was thinking, about don't be late at work. You will get fired if you be late at work. Also, if you're late and he's working for you. Those are very simple principles that nowadays, opening bars, running teams, you don't know how many people don't understand those principles. Mm-hmm. And I called sick once and I felt guilty, and I was 15. And I felt so guilty that I'd never done it again in my life. I promise you, never call sick. Go to work. You look terrible. They send you home. But don't call sick, because someone else will have to do that stuff for you. And I really don't like that. Also, this is me personally, right? The year after, summer after, I didn't work, obviously, the winter for a while because, I was 14 and my mom was like, you got to go to school, man. I didn't like school, by the way. Yeah. I was a good student for things that I wanted to. I just didn't like the system. I just didn't like people telling me what to do. I never did. So I was not performing so well. And the summer after, the owner comes in and was like, oh man, I want to start aperitivo time. And you're a good kid, you look awake, you look like someone that can pick up. Do you want to do the aperitivo time? And I was like, okay. I was like 15, almost 16. And I was like, I'll do it. So basically I was doing 2 mornings, and that was summertime, 2 mornings and 3 afternoons. The afternoon was like that was starting instead of 7 a.m. I would start around 11. I would finish around 8 p.m. So still long hours. But I was getting paid, man. I was making money at 15 years old. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. Nobody does at my age. And I can buy this. I can buy my shoes. I can do things. Right? I always like to own things. And the world changed. Cappuccinos, morning, 7 a.m. in Italy. Nobody speaks. They have a coffee, a croissant, smoke a cigarette, speak about Berlusconi, politics, football, Football, especially
They have a
Mondays.
croissant, though? They have a French
Yeah,
pastry?
yeah,
in Italy?
cornetto. It's called cornetto. Okay, we're never gonna call it croissant, and it's also done different. It's turned less
Yeah,
times. But anyway, and I was like, Jesus, this is amazing. People are getting drunk and tell me all the secrets, and you see the same guy in the morning that comes to you and doesn't talk, and actually comes out at 5 p.m. and he's the loudest guy in the room and tells you about the cheatings and all that. It became like a confessionary. And I loved it so much, man. I was making my first Negroni, spritz. Don't think about what we do here now because it's not. That was the basic of everything. But you learn a lot.
Yeah.
You learn people. You learn to understand them. You learn to don't give it too much alcohol. And you learn the craft.
Yeah.
Little by little. I naturally fell in love for, the liqueurs, the stories. It kind of connect with things that you liked when you're young. I liked history, for instance. I was very good at history. I was very good at religion, even if I wasn't Christian, which in Rome in the 1990s, Christians, it's not a normal thing. I just knew that I wasn't Christian. So I believed in Mozart. I didn't believe in Jesus Christ, and I had this side, so I couldn't, And it was so funny because you learn things that otherwise you would never learn. How to stop a person to drink when you're 15 and this guy is double your age. He knows that you're a kid, that you will fit him, and you got to stop him because if not, it would create issues in the bar. And, I had this kind of things. And then when I left Rome very early, I was just 18. So when I started traveling, this was the memory, that's what I had into it to actually progress in what I wanted to do, which it was drinks. I'm not just saying hospitality, but working in teamworks, it was just beautiful. So I moved to Wales and I worked in a kitchen. I was a kitchen porter. I was a clean dishes of a 4-star hotel, 230 covers. Beautiful story of my first New Year's Eve. I was clean dishes from like 5 p.m. and at 1 a.m., actually at 12, everybody came, Happy New Year. And I turned, and it was like a mountain of dishes. And this guy would, Happy New Year. I was like, this is going to be the worst year of my life. And it starts like this. Finish at 7 a.m. that morning, and I had to clean all the dishes, work like crazy. But, you learn that through hard work, you can succeed, you can get respected in this environment. I think in any environment, if you're a hard worker and, you do things consciously, and you're good with people, you make sure that you say the truth, that you pay attention on details.
Yeah, if you care to pay attention to those details.
I see, for instance, and, my team can say, and people that know me can say, one of the biggest issues that I go with people that I work with is that sometimes they avoid the hard part. It's easy to go around and diverge. Sorry, my English is not the best. But really, if you choose the hard way, which is the only way, in my opinion, to cross things, you could become so much better. Yeah. In what you want to be good, And again, if you don't want to be good on things, it's totally fine. But don't blame others. Yeah. Because there's nobody else to blame. There's only one way, your way, and the way that you do it because you want to improve of what you want to be good at. I do 3 things in life. I always say it's bars, so drinks, and now thankfully I'm blessed by God that I can be a bar operator. But being a bar operator is just not different to be a bartender. It's just a different level. But if you're keen about things, you will be a great bartender and a great bar operator. Also because remember that being a bartender physically, it's a very hard job. I'm 38, so I've been doing this since I'm 14. It's a lot of years. Your shoulders, your back. After a while, you're gonna understand in some kind of ways. And you're also another amazing kind of example that you gotta get out in some kind of ways. If you don't find a way, actually in North America you can still make money even if you're a bartender at 40 years old and you're good and you make drinks, you make tips. In Europe it's not like that. Like I never worked for money. I still don't, and I promise you. But back in the days, man, it's in UK I never made money on drinks.
Yeah,
Never.
I think if you want to stay in the bar industry, but just as a bartender, and I don't mean it as just a bartender, but if that's what makes you happy, being behind the bar
Yes.
making drinks, then you probably shouldn't be working for a small
For sure.
cocktail venue.
For sure.
You should be going and working at
Yes.
A major hotel line
Yes.
that nowadays have great cocktail bars as
sure.
well. But you're unionized.
For sure.
You make a
Yes.
minimum. You make
you work
this,
44 hours
when
a week.
When you go on vacation, you still get paid.
Yes.
All of these things. Like
Yes.
that is something where, especially if you care about cocktails, they want people like that.
For sure.
You may start as a
So-
junior, but within a couple of years, you'll be taken care of.
This is for people out there. I own a bar which luckily I could not work behind the bar. If I wanted to, I could employ another person and I could stay at home Friday, Saturdays. I normally used to work 3 to 4 times a week. Now I'm at 2 because I'm lucky. I still work behind the bar because I naturally love it. I love when you sit down in front of me and I can make you something that I'm proud of. Would I do this for many years more if this wasn't my bar? I don't know.
What's your favorite guest?
Oh, no.
Not a person, but like, I'll give you an example.
Yes.
My favorite was
Yes.
always when a first date sat at my bar.
Nice.
Because it was like, as a bartender, you had the ultimate power.
Yes.
Where you could see like
For
these
sure.
are both
Dynamics.
nice people,
Yes,
and I can see they're struggling
for sure.
for something to talk about or something to do.
Yes.
So it's like, how do you interject yourself? Or do you like, hey, we got this new appetizer on the menu, try this.
For
or,
sure.
Hey, I'm playing around with a new cocktail. Give me your opinion.
Yes.
Something like, give them something to talk about. I love when they had that at the bar. That always, somebody once asked me, like, there's so many negative people that come into the bar. How do you continually stay positive? And I was like, I focus on the good people that night.
For sure.
There's always going to be somebody to uplift you. And the dates were the ones that uplifted me because
Yes.
it's just such a genuine moment.
I always said to all the trainees and young bartenders, there's one power to understand what's going on, the situation of whoever sits down, and the level that they want the experience. Like your delivery should be the same, but at the same time, there's an understanding of the person. If my favorite, for instance, personally, is those ones that they know, that they ask questions and becomes like it becomes a podcast. But I'm just making drinks and I got another 200 drinks to make. But it does becomes a podcast. And it's beautiful. And thanks God, it happened so many times. It's like something that constantly happened. And not just to me, but, now, for instance, Mother attracts a lot of cocktail lovers, so it's beautiful. But I would say another thing that I love is to turn the things around. A person that comes and drinks vodka sodas and end up drinking 5 cocktails.
Yeah.
I succeed in exactly what I want to do. I show them that there's not just one dimension. Now, I don't want to change his dimension because that's not my job at all. It's his job. Like, does he want to become a cocktail lover? No. He loves vodka soda, so what's the difference? What's wrong to give him something that he likes when I can provide it? Mm-hmm. But me, given different angles of what that could become or could do, it's a great value. That I love when I go to a shop and I want to buy, let's say, a camera or a stand, and actually I see technology evolving, and I say, oh, 1 second, the stand is there, there's also that memory card, that memory card goes on top of that. So you get into something that you're normally not into.
Yeah.
Like as I said before, I do 3 things in my life: is drinks, is music, and martial arts. That's all I do. Trust me. And of course, family, spending time with my family. But that's pleasure. But those 3 things, I always want to get better at those 3 things every single day. So every day I wake up, I'm like, how do I get better on these 3 things? And sometimes, I blame myself, or like other people say, man, how do you cope to be good on 3 things? And I said, there's levels. I can become a jiu-jitsu champion. I can't. I'm 38 years old. I started at 30 years old.
Well, you could in your age bracket.
Yes, but trust me, man, it's crazy. I train with champions.
Yeah, you're not taking on Gordon Ryan anytime soon.
No, Gordon Ryan will kill me in a second.
Yeah.
Like, this is actually a joke sometimes I do with my teachers. I want to do private. It's like, oh man, I got, mission 2024. It was like, I'm gonna get Gordon. I'm gonna get Ryan, man. I know it. Outside Chicago. That's but realistically, it will not. Now, if I train hard though, I will be better. I will get better at the games, and when you fall in love with something, you will be most satisfied in your own little world. Music. Do I dream to play in front of 10,000 people? Every day. Why? Because I have a little girl that she's 12 years old, and if I dream it and she dreams it, she might make it because she's 12. When I was 12, I was not dreaming that. So me showing her, like, we got to study this, we got to practice, we got to play, we got to perform, is making my life so satisfied in many different angles, which is people out there, you have a son, a daughter, you play music or you do something special, it becomes a different relationship. It's a relationship that goes above the normal relationship, and that's the beauty of it. There's also quite sometimes stress about it. You got to rehearse. You got to bring it to the stadium. You got to bring it to a study point. You got to perform together. You make mistakes together, but it's beautiful. And then there's bars. Bars is, for me, I would say easier because I grew up in this industry. That's all I've been doing all my life. I know now that if I dedicate 1 hour a day, 2 hour days on study techniques, or my techniques now, it's when you've done it for so long. There's this beautiful thing. Mozart, apparently all the script they made, he never made a mistake. Like when people find the script, it was like there was no mistake on symphonies. And people was like, how the hell that's possible? That's not human. The guy's a monster. But he wasn't. He was playing pull. So he was moving the balls in the speed of the notes and posed the notes on top of what his memory was about composing. So the speed of the note is the tempo that the note will put on top. He never made a mistake. Of course, he made millions of mistakes on his end, but he had a system. When you do something for a very long time, you will have a strong system. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, John Danaher has a very strong system on training. So that trainee, they come and they fit in the system. Gordon Ryan comes. There's another 2 monsters that he's doing. But it's the system that makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. When I study bartending, now I have my system. I know that I can dedicate that. So when I put it together, I can still grow at 38 years old. And the best bar out there, I believe they have incredible systems. Restaurants the same, to make that excel. And other people go, how they do that? I want to be like that. But they don't understand that before they need to create a system for themselves that make them satisfied in what they do and wake up every day with a kind of spark that you can do it. And this is the hardest, I love, like lots of people do motivation speaks, and motivation is okay. Determination and discipline is the secret.
Yeah.
Like you gotta go there and sweat, and you gotta go there and suffer. You gotta go there, and you also need to enjoy the sufferance because, in martial arts you learn a lot of this. Someone on top of you that's double your size and take your arm and go for a kimura. It's unfair. Like this guy's bigger. Why does he do it? But life sometimes is like that. It's very unfair. Mm-hmm. In a work environment, it could be very unfair. So how do you react in that? I'm not saying that the system should be created to be unfair, but it's what you will encounter.
It's not always fair. Sometimes
you will encounter that in life.
Sometimes it's unfair in your benefit.
For sure.
Yeah.
But, it's something that it's very important that you need to understand how to deal with this moment in life. And that could be anything you do. And, you could be a bar operator, a bartender, a barback, or you just came out of university. It doesn't really matter. Those are the things that make you a better human because you understand that you can do something about it. And also you can be in peace with yourself, which is, now that we went on socials and there's a lot of comments and, most of the comments are positive. But when I see negative comments, I always go and see that person Like, for instance, I have a little fat here for the last 5 years. This is natural. Sometimes happens. I'm going to be operated. And one guy posted, oh, man, your horns are coming out. And I was like, that's very funny, actually. Yeah. But I went to see the guy, and the guy has 0 followers. And it was called like Happy Guillaume, something like that. And I responded, Nasty Guillaume equals 0 followers. Maybe you shouldn't just bitch about it. Maybe you should create something that people find value into it and learn about it. And maybe you will have 150,000 views, So it's all things that I believe all those haters that we call her, they become haters because they found unsatisfaction in their life. And, I believe one thing that unfortunately you got to fight against is the unsatisfaction needs to become your satisfactions. It's the hardest of all. Like, it's the hardest process of all. And, you encounter sometimes with people that you can see that, like last time, one of my bartenders asked me, do you have a breakdown? Do you never have a breakdown? And I was like, now? No. But I had many breakdowns.
Yeah.
Many.
I remember one I had that I was working in nightclubs, but I was competing in all these cocktail competitions. So I had this creative outlet and following my passion of these cocktails. But I was making so much money at the nightclub as the head bartender that I wasn't ready to leave that money behind or that kind of that party lifestyle. It was a lot of fun being like the man at that club. But then I had a breakdown one night, and my regulars that were there every Saturday night at the end of the bar, they saw it and they came and like hugged me because I was just like, I just started crying behind the bar. I was like, if I have to make one more vodka Red Bull, I don't know what I'm going to do.
For sure.
And that's when I was like, I got to go. There was that moment I was like, I got to get out of the clubs because it's stifling what I want to do. Yep. And it's just money holding me here.
For sure.
And it's like some of those people I work with, they're still friends with me to this day, but I moved on and did something else that made me more happy. Less money in the interim.
For sure.
But more happy.
My first breakdown, I was 17 years old. My childhood wasn't the greatest. So I had, parents loved me. They weren't together. They split up when I was 1 year. Family wars. They hate each other. They still do. I grew up as a kid that could take choices. I don't like this family. I'm going to go to the other. I always took things in my advantages. Until I was 17 and the direction wasn't the right directions. I'm not going to go into details because I have a daughter. I will tell her in a future.
In your own time.
In a future. Yeah. But the direction weren't good. I could see that the future could be very dark in some kind of ways. And my grandfather died. My grandfather was my hero, was the person that I followed most, listened to him, and he died. So, and bear in mind that my family economy situation was really good. I grew up in Rome with a swimming pool, a complex garden. I was a spoiled kid. I could easily just took over my mom's business and just work with her. Instead, I decided to leave everything and move to Wales by myself. That was the hardest. My breakdown was real, like suicide at 17, this kind of breakdowns that actually very few people know. Probably my wife knows about this. I never told my mom, my dad. Now they know. There we go. But, it was really low level of energy. And I decided to leave everything, go to Wales, start by myself with 220 euros in my pocket and maybe a job as a clean dishes. And it was the best thing ever. I found out that was freedom. I found out that you could do it by yourself. I found out that there's always a way out. And you got to build your staircase, you got to build your own way to live, and little by little, you grow, and you're invincible. You become invincible because there's nothing worse than that. If you think that you got to kill yourself to get out of this place, and you don't, and you get out by yourself, you are invincible. Mm-hmm. Now, this level of winners, right? Some people, what's winning? Winning is you got to become a millionaire. Bullshit. That's not winning. That's a natural progression of what you do, or maybe you had a great idea, but you got to keep your heart. Some people, they understand that being rich is a personal satisfaction. Everybody likes it. In any generation, from history, people like to have power. At the same time, remember, more power, you are dictating more rules, you have more stress into it, and all this kind of things that, when you follow entrepreneurship channels and stuff, they all say it. There's a kind of a little lane of truth in there, and it's the way that we deal with it. And I don't think I'm a successful person. I just know that every time I wake up, I have goals. And this makes me successful. Whatever the other people think, or whatever the other, my mom and my dad think, I care relatively, I care about what my family, my wife, and also my parents for sure, but, I listen to my wife and my kid a lot because they live with me daily. They know who I am very. My father and my mom, I don't live there for almost 20 years. Do they know really who I am? I talk to them on the phone. I see them once every 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. But, that's different. Mm-hmm. If you see someone every day, you will know that person very well. So.
Nice. So how do you transition from washing dishes in Wales to owning arguably one of the best cocktail bars in North America, Toronto?
That's what they say.
There's a large gap.
There's a large gap. Well, so he is. So first and foremost, you fell in love for the craft. You understand that craftsmanship is the first thing. Second, you listen to people that are better than you, worse than you too. You listen to everybody. You can learn from everybody. One of the biggest lessons I have in my head all the time is there's no space, make space. Believe it or not. This was or hot water cleans. It's so stupid. But it's advices that I got given when I was 18. I was cleaning dishes that it actually still today fucking helped me so much. Simple principles. Second, you fell in love for people in the industry. I had a professional crush with Ago Perrone. I had a professional crush with Marian Beck. I had a professional crush with Simone Caporales and, some other industry leaders that I admire. I think wanted to be that person. It really helps you to, again, get up every day and say, I want to be that person. I want to be that good. Why this person is so good? Why I'm not that good? And second, you put yourself into it. You compete a lot of competition. Same. I compete all my life. I'm a pretty competitive person. I love competition because if you want to be good at something, you got to compete. That being said, Maria never compete. So there's very different angles. You got to take care on your own personality. Mm-hmm. Whoever you know yourself better than anybody else. I don't think people should push you to do things. Yeah. People will. People that love you, they will, because they look at you as like, you can do much better than this. I have an example when I moved to Canada. I was running a few bars in Manchester, and I was doing actually music events. I started my own company because I don't want to work for other people. And I was still working for other people though, because, it was great. And I loved it. I loved that company. I loved those people. There was such a beautiful relationship between my bosses and me. I never got fired in my life. Never. It never happened that I got fired. The reason why I never got fired is because I put my heart in things. And you don't sack people that they put their heart. Yeah. You can correct them. You can tell them, yo, this is your last chance, but you don't sack them. And I don't never do that here. Sometimes when I sack someone, I'm devastated because I can't do anything for that person. Or especially now there's very different levels, right? In a club, your level is very low. You're like, okay, why do I need to sack this person? This person is 100%. It doesn't get it. But, I need someone that cleans glasses. Here, such a different story because it's a small team. If the section doesn't work very well, I know you give you 100%, but this is probably not the right time for you. You will probably need to come back here in a year, Mm-hmm. That kind of talk. But at the same time, I always wanted to prove myself that I could be good at things. So competitions came up, and I did my first competition. I was like 20 years old, and I came second immediately. And I forgot what ingredient to put into the drink, and I still came second because I naturally could represent it. I was proud of the drink.
What was the ingredient?
It was passion fruit syrup.
Ah.
Yeah, it was Georgian moonshine competition. My drink was a Drambuie competition. My drink was called Prince Edward Redemption because the recipe was given by Prince Edward's, and that was the magic between a Scotch that became an orange blend. That's what Drambuie was about, and it was served in the Georgian moonshine jar. As a long disco drink, because at that time I was working in a phenomenal bar called Social Rehab that closed down in Manchester. Lots of people that works in UK, I'm sure they will know the bar, especially my generation. And I will never forget, man. All my bar team was in front of me, cheering me like crazy. Me with a super broken English, going behind the stage. Against a guy called Timothy Barnes. Timothy was in Singapore for long. He was one of my idols, like local idols. And he came first, and I came second. And he looked at me after that, and he looked at me and was like, if you would have put that passion fruit, you would have beat me. And I looked at him and was like, I fucking know. Yeah. And I will beat you. And, that's how it started. And that was my first competition. Then I do many others, many others. In Manchester, I think I lost one competition in 3 years. I was always the guy to beat. And it's a beautiful feeling to be that guy to beat, And actually, national and international level, I got beaten many times, which is great and bad. I would say world class was a thing. I done it 5 times, and not for glory, personal glory. It's a challenge. I would still do world class again.
Well, world class is like a part-time job.
I love it.
You got to do so much to be in that competition.
I would say that I tried in UK 3 times, and I came top 4, top 10. And not winning that UK was like so hard on me. And sometimes you put hard things on you. And that's what and again, that's what makes you better. You don't see in a short scale, but you see in a long scale. As soon as I landed in Canada, I was like, world class is happening immediately. Let's go. And I came top 10. The second time I did world class here in Canada was after the pandemic, after 2 years or 1.5 years, the most critical 1.5 years that I'm sure that this generation had. And I didn't have any other thinking to go there and beat everybody. I was like, this is my year. I'm going to win, because lots of people suffer in 1.5 years. I got so much stronger thanks to jiu-jitsu, because I could train, and I organized 5 clubs and then all these things that my mind never stopped. I was the same person as before, just stronger, and others maybe they had more problems. I did not. And now this is the things I will see everything. If you pour yourself and you believe in it, and you work and you work like a dog for it, it's pretty hard that you will fail. Especially because if you fail, you also know that you give your best. Mm-hmm. And this, for instance, was at the Globals. At the Globals, I came 5th. I believe on score I was like top 3 before the last challenge, which I didn't do very well.
What's the last challenge?
It's called the Wheel of Fortune. Even Adrian, the winner, didn't do very well for that. It was like one of those challenges that was hard, so hard they were created to bartender to fail. I believe. I don't know. I could have done so much better, and I regretted 2 minutes so much of my life, and I always will. But again, Kathleen Stewart says sometimes you win world class without winning world class, and I came out from Australia with that feeling. I had shake a lot of hands of my idols. My first presentation, there were 5 people. My last, there were around 30 people. Top, bottom 5, there were 3 of my 5 biggest idols in the industry that were watching me perform. Tick. Eric Lawrence tried my martini, said this is one of the best martini I ever tried in my life. Tick. The old things that you finish there, you're like, okay, I didn't win, and fuck, I didn't win, and I would love to do it again. now I really don't have time because, as you said, it's a part-time job,
It
and
is.
I have 4 part-time jobs at the same time, plus other bars opening. So it's not Massi that can give 100% to the world-class competition. That means that other people will, and I will not succeed.
Yeah.
Which will be a little step back, But I will, one of my 5 goals in life is to win that world class globals, and
So you're not doing it this year, but maybe in the future.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's one of those things, Sometimes it's like you are a competitive person. You understand.
Very.
You understand what I mean. You want the category of cognac to be shining around the world. That's your competition. And I can see it when you do presentation or when you talk to people. And, this is the beauty of some people, and people that they want to succeed in things. And there's no secrets. Like, you just want to be good at what you do because you've been doing it for so long that you're like, this is my life. And why do I need to be mediocre? Mm-hmm. Like, also, if you choose to be mediocre, but you're happy, do it. But don't complain when others winning.
Yeah.
Because this is what you choose.
Yeah.
And it's great sometimes. I follow a lot of entrepreneurial podcasts and a lot of people talking. Like, some people want to make $6 million a year when they don't understand that if they sit at 150, they would be so much happier and have such a fucking great life. Some people don't.
Yeah.
I accept to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and go to sleep at 12 and recharge and make sure that you sleep 7 hours, man, because if you don't sleep 7 hours, you can't do what you do.
I forget the quote exactly. I'm going to butcher it, but I heard it recently that's like, I've never gotten hate from anyone that's driven and successful.
For sure.
Only from people that aren't. And it's like, because you don't have time to hate on people when you're driven towards something. You just want to cheer on the people that are also doing it. So it's that's always an interesting thing for me. Yeah.
Like, look, I don't listen. I really listen to very little people in my life.
Yeah.
I don't really listen. I like to listen things that I go, oh, I'm learning from this. Okay, so now you got my attention. I just told you about the meeting that you said before. I didn't have attention after the person came out with an idea. I was like, I love this.
Now you have my attention.
Now you have my attentions. And I truly believe that, other people have the same perception of what you're saying or what I say. Sometimes you think the guy is silly because you meet him on a thing. Now with all the TikTok stuff and all these kind of things that we do, people will have a very different idea of who I am. If you actually meet me and we talk, maybe you have a different idea. Maybe it's even worse. But, judge someone just because you've seen something do online that he likes, it's very easy. Judge him in a much deeper level of what his thoughts are, what his thinking are, what his future, what his past. You're always looking about those angles before, I wouldn't say judge, but like or not like, which is totally possible. Not everybody likes everybody. I'm sure you have some people that you don't like, Les. I do have some too.
Yeah, they don't take up much of my thought, though.
Same. I had especially when you open a business or when you do things. Sometimes you have a partnership with someone, and after the partnership ends, and you care for when you care on that moment that you don't need to take the decision. Mm-hmm. Then you care.
Yeah.
Because A, there's memories. B, there's future of the company, which is I'm never worried actually about that. But you're more worried about there's a change. The change is happening. In jiu-jitsu, when they put you in a different position, there's always that second of like, I'm fucked. There's always, but after you're like, actually, no, I could do this, and you regard or whatever. And in life is exactly the same, But after that moment is gone, it's gone.
I think, like, dislike and the greater than dislike hate, they just take so much energy.
For sure.
Like, you've got to feed that fire all the time. Whereas love is like a warm hug.
Yes.
It doesn't take a lot of energy to love somebody.
For sure. That's a true story.
Because and even doing things for them is not hard because you love them.
Yes.
But hate requires so much. So it's like, I learned a long time ago, just give it up. I used to be somebody that held grudges for a long time and things like that. And don't get me wrong, I still am.
For sure.
But for almost, I hold grudges for my friends.
Of course.
If you hurt my friend, now I have a grudge. If you hurt me, I give it up,
Yes.
and you're not part of my life anymore. So I'm not worried about you.
I think it goes to a respect level, right? After a while, you basically lose a respect for someone.
Mm-hmm.
So not because you hate it, or not because it just, it's not part of you can't be part of your time.
Yeah. Instead of hate, it's apathy. I just don't care.
Which is worse.
Yeah.
So much worse. For them.
Yeah.
Like there's a beautiful song from Pearl Jam. It's called Indifference, and how much difference can he make?
Mm-hmm.
When you have indifference, there's not like you don't have attention.
Yeah.
So you will hate that because nobody cares, and everybody goes, "Oh, everybody hates me. Nobody cares." When it's not true. It's like maybe your message or the way that you behave sometimes is just not the way they should be. It's not real, and the beauty of socials, I believe, is that people go there and they want to do things that are not real, and after they upset because people don't care. But if I know you and I know that you don't real, would I put weight on your words?
Mm-hmm.
No, you won't.
Yeah. So how do you? I want to ask you about like running a team.
Yes.
Because you've mentioned a few times, just like you're a small bar, small operation, so everybody's got to work. Like their job is integral to the,
Yes.
The entire working of the machine here.
For sure.
How do you hire for that? How do you train for that? How do you build this team?
So building team is for me is fascinating. It's very similar to sports cards. The most important thing that you have sports cards. The level that you want to express is also very based on the team that you want to build or the team that naturally sometimes builds. Mm-hmm. Building the super team sometimes is not the best thing. Super teams are great. Sometimes and often don't last because super teams, people will do their own things. And I, for instance, always push, and you can ask, my biggest dream is to come to a member of the team that's been working with me for 2 years, 3 years, and open his own place, become successful, and I go there for a drink. I naturally believe that will be, for me, amazing, because it means I've done something good in this process of learning. When you're building a team day by day, you also need to understand that the first thing that I look, it's enduracy, how much that person can perform at that level and for a long. That's why, for instance, here we have the rule that nobody works more than 44 hours, 45 hours. We always have 2 days off from shore, especially, people that work 4 days in a row, they have 2-3 days off. But at the same time, you need to see that person is evolving. If the person is just sink into his position, I just don't see other way. So sooner or later we'll encounter some troubles or some issues, or I just need to talk. Also, there's another, the family is a team. Like I have, me and my partner, my wife, we call her wife, but we never got married. We're together for 13 years, almost 14. That's a relationship. That's a long relationship. I met her when I was 24, working in bars. There's a lot of attention sometimes that goes there, but I'm very loyal. My heart is very loyal for things. So when you build that relationship, really becomes a teamwork. And in a bar, it's not different. You got to build the relationship with your employees. You need to build a relationship with your trainees. You need to build relationship in general. When you have that relationship and you establish the relationship, the asking part, it becomes so much more naturally that they understand why to do that stuff. Some people that work for, they imperatively impose those rules without giving. And that's hard. Mm-hmm. That's how teams get disintegrated. That's why people don't want to work for you. You are a tyrant. Be a tyrant is very easy. This is your place. You can be a tyrant as much as you and I could be a tyrant with customers. It's my bar. Get out. Will I open the second bar? I really don't think so.
Well, it depends how much money you have.
Doesn't matter. You will burn them. So, it's one of those things that, you build teams really based on characters. I love to analyze every single person that works for me. Maybe X doesn't like money. Maybe Y loves money. Maybe, Z doesn't care about both. He wants happiness, is young, he wants to go traveling. perfect. How do I maximize their attention on what I want to be like very focused on, and how they can come out from this place. In the real world, man, nobody will work here for 20 years. It will be a dream, especially in our industry. Like, think about how many jobs you change. Think about how many our jobs I changed. I was in Manchester running 9 bars with a very good salary. Still, I wanted to open my own things. I left. You know, there was many things that I've done, even if I was making good money in the city and I could buy a house. Why? Because my aspirations are different of another people's aspiration. Maybe someone just wants a steady job and grow with a company. That's you will have for 20 years. Which is, for me, would be a dream to have some people that work for me for 20 years. Means I'm really doing something good because this person devote the life to work for my ideas, which is automatically and organically they also will become their ideas, because if you work for someone for 20 years, maybe you will scale up in a company, right? If the company grows, which is obviously that's another important job that sometimes employees don't see. They see what you tell them, but they don't see what you're trying to do for them. And I honestly trying to do for them. Like I always say here, every time I employ someone, my first question is, what's your goal in life? In life, forget about here. I don't care. I truly don't care. Because I've seen superstar bartenders coming here and leave after, and get sacked. Or like get asked to leave after 15 days. And I saw people coming from the shittest pub in the world come here and become some of the best employees I ever had. So it becomes very personal. Now, one thing that slowly I learned, for instance, running 9 bars, that there's a very fine line between professional and personal. Personal, for instance, after work, it's always personal. I am the nicest guy in the world. I go sometimes with them and smoke joints, I drink. I don't care. I'm a friend. I'm not your boss when we're going for a drink, for sure. But when we work here, there's a very important things that you got to understand.
Yeah.
That you work for me.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand that, if you don't understand the importance of, and this is not just owners, that's also a manager. Sometimes I ask to my employees, I say, what means to be a good manager? And they go, the things are working. It was like, your biggest task, it's make sure that you resolve problems. This is your bigger task. Forget about, I'm the best server, I'm the best bartender, I'm this, I do this, I got lots of 5-star reviews. This is all a given that means that you're good in some certain angles. As soon as you become a manager, your job is to make sure that the issues are covered, or as many issues as possible. There are some issues that you want. Insurance, building problems, medias. That's something that you shouldn't even worry about. That goes up to OL's level. And if you're a very good manager, opening your own bar, it won't be hard. Because you already done this for other people. You just do it for yourself in your own way, understanding how other people actually do things and do it better. I always I remember when we opened this bar, I put a list of things that I hated when I worked for someone else.
Oh, that's smart.
Yes.
What were those?
Oh, first, like people ask you to do more, not paying you more or not doing things that, it's easy to ask. It's very hard to give. I like to show them that I give. After this podcast, I'm going to do the rubbish outside. The worst job. I love to do the worst job. I actually naturally love to do it. Because when they come, they go, the owner did the rubbish? Okay. You couldn't just say, you do the rubbish.
It's hard to say no when
So
top dog is doing it too.
Yes, of course. Yeah. This is the easiest way for me to see it. And again, in many other worlds, it's exactly like this. Like it doesn't work. It's not different. It's your mentor will show you how things are done. The hardest things are done, and this is the real mentor.
Yeah. Brilliant. Do you have any tricks to the hiring practice to find those right people? I mean, you said you ask about their goals.
Yes. First
Anything
the goals.
else?
No. First the goals. Second, I think it's important to see what the aspirations are. And after this whole practice, man.
Yeah.
Theories are great. I love theories, but it's nothing without practice.
Yeah.
And again, I talk a lot about jiu-jitsu. Maybe you guys understand I like jiu-jitsu quite a lot. There's some people that they go,
it's jiu-jitsu.
yeah,
bars
music. We
and
didn't
music.
speak about music a
Yeah,
lot,
yeah.
but we should speak about more about music. I know the
Yeah,
time.
the Mozart
The
piece,
Mozart
yeah.
piece. Yeah, you got it. But like so many times that the people comes like, I know this technique. This is great. And after when you clap hands and the fight starts, they get crushed. The theory, the video, they're watching the video, they're watching the tutorials. Great. I love that. I do that too. But there's a certain moment that you're under pressure and you gotta
gotta put it all
perform.
together.
Cocktail competitions, play live in front of people. Those is the moment that you can't fail.
Yeah.
You can, but you gotta learn from it, and then you develop your own things. Talk about music. We had a first band. I have a new band. My daughter is the lead singer, and my daughter and I, we perform live very many times for the same concept. I want to make sure that we go to a place that we can perform anytime, anywhere, without a sweat. This is our goal. Little Elephant, which is our new band, played for the first time 3 weeks ago. 5 members, never played together. And I wasn't stressed because I never stress. But at the same time, it's the first time. And some people didn't play live for a long time. And I was worried because performing live, it's under pressure. And we did great. And I was very happy because everybody performed better than rehearsal. So they embrace the moment of pressure and develop their own little, it's like you close yourself into your little self and you can perform better. That's a service. I see the service as the same way. 6 o'clock, that's the moment. If everybody's got the energy and the fire to perform well, it's impossible to fail. Impossible. Apart, like sometimes here we had, like, thanks God that days we had the A team. I don't believe in A teams, but we had people that worked together for like 2-3 years. We had a Saturday night that the inspection came, the internet was off, so the entire place was without internet. The place was packed Saturday, but we were 4 people that they worked together for 3 years, and it was like, it's not gonna fail this. We're going to make it happen. We're going to find a way. We're going to think, progress, and make the shit happen. And we did. Now, we didn't make so much money as if the Saturday would have gone smooth, or, could it be even better or much more relaxed? For sure. But we encountered the issue with unity. And this is what a great team does. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can be number 1 or 50 best or number 37 or 38. Doesn't matter, man. The matter is that the team works towards something. If you're not on the list, congratulate to the other down the list, because that's spirit of community, and that's also important. I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah, I was. So I've had to hire. After I left bars and went into ambassador side, I got to hire some other ambassadors, some more regional ambassadors in the U.S. And the one thing I always asked people was, they were going to be working for Hennessy and Belvedere, like 50% of their job was Hennessy, 50% Belvedere, and I always asked them, like, what's your favorite spirit? Like, that's not.
Yes, don't tell
That's
don't
not
tell me
vodka
that's
and not cognac. I don't want you, kissing my ass.
Because
to
Annis
get
is
this
like,
job.
nah.
Yeah. But the intention was, if you say you love rye, then I'll be like, okay,
Tell me
about rye.
I don't know anything about rye.
Yeah, treat me like an idiot. Tell me about rye. I know nothing. And the intention was, if you can't, I had some great resumes. And I remember I interviewed, for one city, I interviewed all 3 candidates while driving. It just happened to be like that's when they were free, and I couldn't avoid it.
Yes.
So Bluetooth in the car, I'm asking them questions. 2 of them, I wanted to drive off the road into a tree and just end that interview. The 3rd one was swearing through the interview.
It was real, though.
It turns out he thought it was a pre-interview because we had met before.
Yes.
I was like, no, that was an interview. But there was passion there.
For sure.
And I could tell that, like, the other 2 were so monotone and yet had better resumes. And so many other people that interviewed them were like, yeah, these are the guys. And I kind of said, no, they're not. This guy's the guy. Because I can make you love Hennessy.
For sure.
By taking you to France, by showing you what we have, it's going to align with your values if you're the right candidate.
For sure.
But I can't teach you
Love.
charisma. I can't teach
to love
you
things.
Like passion.
For sure, impossible.
And so if you have passion for this industry, then you should be able to talk to me lovingly about the spirit you say you love. Otherwise, maybe you don't love that much. Maybe you're just saying rye because you think that's the cool thing to say as a bartender. And you know, if you really love banana liqueur, you're just afraid to say that out loud to your other bartenders.
It's so funny because I have the same experience with branding. I will never forget that we should have done during the pandemic. There was this kind of collaboration with this person, and I went there, and he just started, and I was like, "What's your brand?" And he took the laptop, and he showed me what the marketing company did for him, and I looked at him, was like, "You're gonna fail," and he was like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Yeah, unfortunately I got to tell you this, that you are gonna fail." I know, can I tell you the reason why? And he was like, "Oh, why?" Because you should have closed the laptop and tell me, look in my eyes, what your ideas are and what's your brand. Because that means is your brand. You paid someone else to build your brand. You will never work 20 hours a day for it. It's impossible. And they closed after a while.
Yeah.
Didn't succeed. They didn't make it.
Yeah, he just wanted the money.
I didn't understand that very simple point. You know, when I met my business partner here, which was after 20 people, I had a little mood board, but I gave it to everybody, my mood board. I would give my mood board and start talking, look into your eyes, and it's like, that's what I have. I want to do this. I need this much. Whenever you want, whenever you can. If it's not you, no worries. I'll find someone else. That was my all topic. Now, sometimes you're lucky that you find the right person, the person that you can build a relationship with, which is, again, is the hardest part, especially when it goes well. You know, when it goes bad, it's easy. You're failing. So sell as much as possible, think about something else, make yourself in a mind that you are failing, so at least you can do other things. Don't obviously get depressed, but actually get encouraged by what you did wrong. Mm-hmm. Very hard, very hard to do. Done a few times. But if you're winning, you know, it becomes greed. There's money now. Oh, wait, what this or this percentage is mine. And that's why you're building your relationship with your partners. You make sure that will never happen. How do you do that? One thing that I learned, for instance, you create all the sub-businesses. So you are happy, you are working, you are making your own things, and you make sure that, you know, you don't belong to that percentage that's yours. You know, like we had sometimes discussion about selling percentages. I will highly recommend everybody to sell percentages. That's how the stock market is created. The most powerful way of making money in the world is created that way. You sharing your wealth because you can increase your wealth like that.
Yeah.
Some people never do that. Oh, my stock, my 20%, I will never give my 20% away. It's like, if you give 3% and you make another 30% on top, you will not do that? You are crazy. Or your ego is bigger than the 20%. So, you know, that's business decision that you should do all the time to grow. And whenever you also employ people, I see sometimes, especially after a few weeks that you start be working with someone, how much that person could be valuable.
Yeah. For
your future and the future of your brand in general. But one thing, it's for sure, you always, and when you do job interviews, or could be a brand ambassador job, or, you know, a bar that you love, or whatever just be you. When you do competitions, how do you win everybody was like, how do I win world class? It's like, first and foremost, I didn't win the global, so I can't tell you. You should ask Adrian or other global winner like James or Kate. One thing that I would tell you how to win competitions, how to succeed in life, is be yourself and make sure that you know what you're saying. If I go to a cognac interview for a brand ambassador, obviously, and I go in front of me the global ambassador of cognac, or make sure that I know more things than he knows about cognac. Or when he asks me what's your favorite spirit, I will never answer cognac. But that's me.
Yeah.
Why shall I answer cognac?
Yeah.
He believe and breathe for that brand.
Yeah.
Or that category.
Yeah.
So, but if I know that I know lots about cognac, I will encounter a discussion, which you will love that discussion, because it becomes, okay, I'm employing someone to be cognac or vodka ambassador, and this guy, actually rye, you say rye, actually Belvedere is made from polished rye. So, you're talking about rye, brilliant. So now let's talk about cereals. What do you know about growing cereals, agriculture, foraging, and here we go. That you're starting your interview in a way that works much better.
Yeah, and I think I always said when I was running bars, any bartender with me, I said, listen, you've got a huge back bar. It's hard to know everything about everything. But if you know 3 things about every product back there, some of that doesn't need to be technical information. It could just be a story that this is like an 8th generation family owned brand.
Yes.
And, it's from Italy, it's from France, it's from wherever. You know more than 99% of the people.
Yep.
And if somebody shows up at your bar that knows more than you about that, now you just shut up and listen, because they're specialized in that, or that's their area of interest. They probably know nothing else about the rest of that back bar, or less about the rest, but they know that one.
For sure. I can expand that in other things. You're a bartender. You know 3 styles of drinks, but you're very good at these 3 styles. You know a spirit-forward drink that you know how it tastes in your head. You know that this is going to be a banger. You have a sour, you have a Collins. You make those 3, man, 90% of the people will love you forever if you do it properly. Music, you know 3 scales. That's all you have to know, in 3 different keys. E, A, F. You know these 3 scales. You know that most of the songs could be in this key. You will always sound good.
What are the 3 jiu-jitsu moves then? Rear naked choke.
Just I would say, you know how to pass and retain your guard.
Yeah.
And to, keep positions. Pinning.
Yeah.
You got these 3, you beating 80% of people. Apart people that are stronger than you and people that know more than you that will fuck you up.
Yeah.
Happened all the time tonight.
All right. I think you've got a cocktail to make.
I got a cocktail tonight.
All right.
Just for a change.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So we're starting with a little, this is Hennessy, and we also do a little infusion with saffron and peach. We got some yuzu and whey cordial. If you want to make it yourself, this one is very, very easy. You take milk, you clarify it, so through acidity, and then you got the whey part. Then you blend it with yuzu and a little bit of citric component. Of course, a little bit of sugar. Then this is a watermelon pickle. We actually use salt, a little bit less sugar, and rice vinegar for it. Very easy. After, if you want to make this yourself as well, this is our homemade bitter kombucha. This is actually made from a second fermentation of green tea kombucha. But the second fermentation goes with all the orange, lemon, and lime citruses. That instead of throwing away, we use it for the flavor itself. So it becomes, let's say it's a little bit gassy, but not too much. To be honest, this is also on the first stage. It should need another 4 or 5 days to be more carbonated. But what we do, we basically, after the second fermentation, we'll put inside bottles to make sure that this don't expand too much, with a touch of castor sugar inside. And it's a cold fermentation, which is something that we're working so much on, and I love it so much because it's much more regulated. The drink itself, as I said, will be a twist of a punch. I got some ritual, so every time I make a drink with a double shaker, I always like to make sure that place the ice on the bottom first. That will keep it chiller, and also it's a practice I've been doing for a very long time. Also, I'm also make sure that I always use tangs, so at least you don't touch the ice with your hands, which is dirty. And also you can spin things around, which is very fun. Second, we move on with fresh lemon juice. We're gonna go 1 ounce of it. Second part would be 1/4 of a watermelon. Then we're gonna go for a 3/4 of whey yuzu. Two 5 ounces, or 2 parts of our infusion. We're gonna keep this for after. Oh, let me taste it. I tasted so many times though, so I should be very sure about the flavor of this. It's very average. Sorry. start shaking it a little bit. And we'll be adding only 1 ounce of the kombucha. A little dilution. Gently stir. You want to incorporate all the flavors. I love to use a king cube. And pour the drink just on the side.
Why do you put it just down the side and not over the top?
I don't want to cover the entire top. I want to make sure that the garnish sits on top perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
We can do a couple of garnishes. First one, we can make it very ours. The little mother logo. And the second, we can make it very seasonal with a touch on top of what those ones are actually organic greens. As you can see, also the color for me when I make drinks, colors are very important. I believe every time there's a cognac involved, I like to create this kind of golden color. I think it's something I always liked. And I want to finish it with a little bit of floral note. This is actually an infusion that we do with natural grain spirits and lavender flowers. Jordan,
Beautiful.
enjoy your drink. Let us know what you think, okay?
Genius. Wonderful cocktail. Thank you very much. How did you start this fermentation route? Like, where did this, like, the name of your bar is Mother.
Yes.
Based off the mother ferment and things.
The starter.
So how did you start down this route? Because it's sort of taken over, and it's a popular trend in cocktails.
Yes.
But this bar started many years ago,
Yes.
and that it was only starting to become a thing then.
Yes. Let's start from a very personal kind of perspective. I was in UK, and I was lucky enough to run a bar called Science and Industry. I opened a bar. I ran it for 4 years, and at the beginning, super full time for 2 years. For 1 year, super full time. Second, I became running the entire company like as a brand ambassador / trainer, so I could dedicate only 2-3 days to this bar. I'm talking about service. I was there very often. Daytime. I had a daytime job, so the beauty is that part of my job, which is sometimes, guys, it's the best job ever, especially when you own your own bar. This is not your job anymore. It's creative drinks. My job was to create drinks. That's that. I would go Monday, do my, my job, obviously checking the bar's cocktail bar, and then I was paid to create drinks. So ingredients, using, rotavapors, all those techniques that we love so much. Now, I tell you, I still love to do that so much. But it's like a hideaway of, all the issues that sometimes happens. And I was really into distillation. So we actually had, this is so funny, I had a customer of mine, this guy was a customer of mine in Paris and in Barcelona. And he moved to Manchester. So he's a scientist based on fermentation. But I wasn't into fermentation. I was into distillation. So I studied for like 3 years perfumery and, all this kind of stuff. Floraison and, enfleurage. And also having a rotavapor. I was one of the few people in the north of UK to have a rotavapor. So I could do things that other people couldn't do. And
what time frame were you at this bar?
2014,
Okay.
2008, 2015, 2014, 2018, 2013, 2017. That was my 4 years. And the beauty was like, I was so into distillation that I remember this friend of mine, Mathieu, is one of the greatest bartender, great kid. And he came and was like, I'm making kombucha. I was like, what? It's like, yeah, I'm fermenting. I'm making my own mother. I'm doing this. And I tried. I was like, I like this. And he was like, do you want to get into it? I was like, absolutely not. You do your fermentation stuff. I got my distillation stuff. And we meet some ways. Life wants me to come to Canada. And Mathieu was really good at developing, especially with mothers and kombucha. It was amazing. Also, he was making a lot of kvass, which is fermented sourdough beverage. Beautiful. If you ever tried it, if you want to make it, Google it. It's amazing. Anyways, when I moved to Canada, I didn't have so much money because we spent so much money to move here. Second, the lab thing. I didn't have any lab. I was working in a fine dining restaurant, amazing restaurant, 0 bar program. Like, there was nothing like I had before. We were talking about breakdowns before. Mm-hmm. Listen to this. You almost work with Marian Beck. You're on top of whatever you think your career is. You leave everything to come in another country, work in a restaurant that doesn't have a cocktail program. You feel like you back step 10 years of your career. Do you break down? No, fuck that, man. I'm gonna go downstairs in my basement and do the only thing I can do. Get a thermometer there, get a little fun to make it warmer, and I'm gonna ferment shit. That's exactly what I did. I go into fermentation. It was coming up a little bit, but I would say more than anything, it was the only thing that could really be focused. Because there were distillation and fermentation, which is also the nature of the spirit, and infusions, right? But infusions are done. So done for years. I'll still study infusions, but now, for instance, we do triple, quadruple infusion of a single element, the entire cocktail, the barrel aging. There's many other things about infusions, which again, they're done and redone. Fermentation is done and redone. Like, not maybe on the level of some people, but the natural fermentation, it's centuries, if not millennia. So nothing new. It's the personal experience that makes it different. So I started doing everything I could. Bought mothers, I bought water kefir, I bought milk kefir, ginger beers. I've done ginger beers before, so I was like more, natural fermentation against yeast fermentation, spontaneous against, kind of forced. That's how we call it, cold fermentation. And fuck, man, some great stuff came up. I was really happy about some of the stuff. And I started to fall in love with the lifestyle of fermentation, the lactobacillus. Lactofermentation came out when the Noma book came out. I was like, oh my God, I've been a huge advocate about salting cocktails for so long. Actually, I won a national competition in UK. It was a funkin, so purers. Very, kind of clubby company, like clubby product. But at the same time, those guys that were trying to be innovative, and it's great when you're innovative. And I remember on that competition, everybody brought like PDF. I'm gonna do this and this and this and this without budgets, and they were doing this competition. And I participated, and I was like, I came with a little pot with salt, and I was like, I'm gonna put salt in my drink, and it's gonna taste so much better. And my idea is to create a salted syrup, which it will cost you very little. And they were like, oh. And I made 2 drinks, bangers, won the competition, national champion, worked with the brand for a year. My wife was taking pictures, I was making drink. That's another income. That's the way to it. Or at least, that's the way that I did it. Anyways, so developing all these ideas, I started to really get into the fermentation world. Like, farmers, they ferment. Fermenters, they super humble people. And, I want to open my bar, and I could see that the drinks in town were very similar. North America has got a style that I don't have, because I don't come from this background. Not because I'm judging that the other styles is better or one is better. It's just not the way that I grew up professionally. So I knew that I could do something different for the city, or at least, I could try to do drinks served in a different way. This name Mother will come in my mind. I was like, I can't call it a bar called Mother, man. Like, this is boring. I'm Italian. Everybody would think of Mama. And after I just wrote it down on a piece of paper. And 10 Can I take the menu 2 seconds?
Yeah,
Can't do that.
there's one right there.
Oh, amazing. I don't think it's that. Sorry, I'm back. I wasn't prepared. And then I wrote mother on a piece of paper, and my wife did this. She'd never done a logo before. She's never been a graphic designer. And for me, this is the most amazing logo I ever seen for a very long time. So when she did this, I looked at her and I said, I'm gonna find money and we're gonna do something with this. And that's exactly what I did. I met around 25 investors, talked to many people. Sometimes they wouldn't speak a word of English. Most of them were from China, which is some people go, oh, it's China. Great people. You ask anybody in the world. There's some great people and bad people. There's no national countries. Bear in mind, because some people sometimes they go, oh, this guy, they come here. I was like, yeah, whatever, man. This guy believing in good ideas. And you know, funny enough, the idea of mother developed in a very different way. I always go very philosophical and stuff because I always believe that philosophy comes before, and then you got to act strong, put in so much work. And one of the things I've done is like, we want to be, you know, mother is a beautiful word that says you are the beginning of something. Without the thing before, a mother will never happen. So the kind of batching, the back slop, the starter, it will start something else. And for me, on my dreams, like mother could be the beginning of other people coming to town and making drinks in different ways. And this is happening. And this is what makes me very happy. That other people are doing different things. Other people say, those guys are doing it. Now we doing it. You know, I had a story there as a cocktail bar next here that now, you know, they had to improve the cocktail game because we here. You know, they come here and they look, oh, wait a second. This is pretty amazing. How do I do that? No, I'm saying this.
Good luck.
Next.
Yeah.
And I go, perfect. Oh, man, I love to lose. If you really put things together and I can learn from you, amazing. Like one thing that I was so in love for London when I was living in Manchester, that I would take a train for 2.5 hours and go in some establishment that I could just dream about it. But I would learn so much from that sip. 3 months ago, we were in Mexico. I went to Handshake. The drinks are fantastic. I loved it. It's like someone slap you in the face and say, those guys are better. What are you going to do about it? You're going to, oh no, well, the glassware was dirty. Or you're actually going to do, okay, that's the flavor profile. I've done this before. Memorize it. Try it again. Memorize it. Smell it. Understand the setup. Nice. Now I'm going to come back and I'm going to make a few drinks or few ideas that can replicate the flavor profile. Now, those guys, they're going to evolve and they're going to get better. I'm behind and I need to raise up. What happened though? Everything raise up. So it's great. And Toronto cocktail scene, it's grown so much in 4 years. I know, I've seen it. I can see there's better bars. There's better bars in the ranking, much better bars than ours. And I'm very happy. Welcome, like this, isn't anything wrong?
Yeah.
To be good at what you do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's different.
Yes.
Well, you separate yourself with what you're doing here. So I think
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's good because better is subjective.
For sure.
You know, to
the
who?
best is very subjective,
Yeah.
you know. Some people that come here and say, this is the best cocktail bar I ever been. This is the best. And I'm very happy, but I don't see it that way. I see a machine that works every day and trying to do their best. After the perception of people are very different. And, you know, you got to deal with that. You got to make sure that you overcome to that. And you need to make sure that you evolve in whatever you do. You know, there's another thing. We surely opening another place. And, you know, my first thing that I have in my mind is to make a better place. Now, what's
Take your learnings
what's
and-
better, maybe it's not going to be as successful as Mother. Because of various factors. My wife is not making the logo like this anymore. There's, you know, it's not the first bar, it's not the first love. But many people fell in love different times in their life. And, you know, now we have a little bit more conception of how this could be structured. Now, is the structure a great thing? I don't think so, but it's more there's more longevity into it. Second, you can make drinks better. You can create a different cocktail program, or blending different ideas with the already existing cocktail program. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
If everybody will tell you opening bars that you're going to be successful, everybody will open bars. Only 5% of establishment, they succeed after 5 years.
Yeah.
Fact.
Yeah, I think
I'm a 4.
It's a 2-year
I'm a
mark.
4.
Yeah.
So, maybe next year we'll have another podcast. How Massi
Well,
went down.
you made it through the pandemic. I think you're probably
So,
all right.
Massi, how did you lose, mother? Oh, it was a poker game, and I lost everything. No, joke. But, things can happen all the time.
I think, that all constant improvement and constant reflection and how you could do things better. I always follow the something I heard from Richard Branson. I didn't hear it from him. I heard it of him.
Yes.
That he never gives anything a 10 out of 10. When
My father is the
employees
same.
come to him with things, the highest rank he gives anything is 9. Because if you give something a 10, there's no
put the
room
limit.
to improvement.
Of course.
But if you give something a 9, there's always, how do you make something a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit incrementally better every time?
You just described my father.
Yeah.
My father is like this. It's never 10 to 10.
Yeah.
10 to 10 means it's a limitation.
Yeah.
It's 9, 9.5 is well done.
Yeah.
It's a hug. It's never 10 to 10. Nothing is ever perfect. I hate him for 20 years of my life because of that. So, pure hate.
Constant trying to get 10.
This guy's
That's the competitive
so good
side.
at piano. I hate him.
Yeah.
Why you're not 10 to 10? I was like, no, man, I'm 5. And he's always like, no, man, I'm a 5. Because I'm young. He always calls that, He always says that a musician, for instance, his perfect age of a musician is between 50 to 60. Because you arrive to a maturity and that makes you wise to understand all the energy that you put to a certain given passion. And because music is not so much physical, apart if you're a drummer, I believe, but even if you're a drummer, after you do that moving, it's not like martial arts, that after 40 years old, you actually feel it physically. And you arrive into this kind of nirvana where, you assimilate things in such an easier way that you can reproduce it.
Yeah.
Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't fucking know.
So you talked a lot about different bars you go to. If somebody were sitting at the bar here at Mother
Yes.
on a Friday night,
Yes.
they're in Toronto for the weekend,
Yes.
where would you send them after here?
I always actually send them to closest one, Bar Pompette. Closest one, Bar Banan. I like this place. Jacob Martin is a great guy. He's doing a fantastic job. Second place, Bar Pompette. I love the guys. I was supporting them from the very first day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy that they came so high on ranking and 50 best. I think because I think they're doing a great job.
Yep.
And doing a great job means that they should be supported by I think everybody should support themselves.
Yep.
Another place that I always advise, especially if the industry is civil liberties, but if they're not industry also civil, Nick is a great. And I think another incredible addition of the city will be the library bar. With James Grant now on top, I think he's amazing. I love him. He's a great guy. Spend a lot of time with him. I'm not saying that all this just because of friendship, though. His drinks are actually really good. He's a global winner of world class. You don't expect less. Mm-hmm. And I believe he has the right charisma and philosophy to empower some very important rules and empower especially passion to some people that in a cocktail world I'm talking. After all the rest, it's a big picture that hopefully it will gain so much, and the city will have another great bar. There's also a couple of new openings that I really looking forward. One guy that used to work here called Nick, he will open a bar in college, which is something I'm looking for. That being said, there's always other bars like Baraval. I like it. Also, those bars are very popular. Mm-hmm. So I think when the volumes comes in, your cocktail program eventually needs to a little bit transformed or simplified, or again structure that you can actually execute those volumes without losing the kind of quality of it, which is something that we discovered, for instance, last year. 2 years. 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we went from small, niche, nerdy cocktail bars to having 130, 40, 150, 60, 80, 180 people through the doors. Go, man. It's not why. It's not, yeah, of course. It's not, I'm a little fermentation. Now it's like, okay, batches. Okay, this. Okay, that. Okay, oh, the drinks are not good like before. Oh, shit. Okay, so we're doing something wrong. We actually, when we opened after the pandemic, there was this moment that actually, I'm very proud of that because it's something that happened that we didn't choose the money way, but we choose the quality way. And, make me realize that my business partner is the right partner, and B, we are in the same path. We were getting so slammed that we start to have 2 stars, 3 stars. Never happened before. Like if you go check our reviews, we're normally pretty high. And, it's something we're very proud of. And we closed inside to just operate outside. Losing, I'm talking about sometimes even $3,000 a day. But just because the quality wasn't the same. Mm-hmm. So we lost the entire sitting. We said the sitting inside is closed. We only do the patios and the bar. But we make sure that we raise that quality, we create a structure, and then we move on. Worked pretty well.
Until you had the staff to do it all correctly. Yeah.
Other people would never do that.
Yeah.
Other people say.
Or very few would.
Other people go, shit, we're making $15,000 a day? Oh, fuck, let's carry on to do that. We're going to do this and do that. I was like, this is devastating. Never. So step back, step up front. Always. I think it's important. There's a reflection that you do. How about if you don't care about your brand or you want your brand to be diluted? But Mother cannot be a brand that be diluted. We will fail in about a year if we dilute this brand.
Yeah.
That's why we're not planning to open another Mother yet. There's actually planning to open another Mother yet, but it's such a different concept that it's so cool that I'm never going to tell you about it. And it won't be diluted. It will be just very different.
Yeah. Well, we can talk again when that one's open.
See you in 2 years.
It's not a secret. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Now, finally, you've dropped a lot of great knowledge.
Yes.
But what's something you'd tell to maybe a younger version of yourself or a young bartender coming up in this industry that's going to help them succeed?
Understanding what they really want to do. There's one thing that I have a teenager or preteen of 12 years old, so I do this daily, trying to make her understand or make you understand when you're so young that you already should start to have a direction, because when you arrive at 38, that path will be so much easier. Unfortunately, and I don't know if you can confirm this, but when you're young, you don't see this. Totally. You see the older version of other people, but you don't see the older version of you. I always highly recommend it. You like dancing, you like singing, you like making drinks, you like boxing, you like doing videos. Do it now. Don't think that you can start. You can start at 30 years old. And, if you didn't start. Doesn't matter the age. The age is such an irrelevant thing. I've seen people succeeding at 70 at Buena Vista Social Club. They succeed he was 68, 72. It's crazy. Like, this guy lived all his life as a Cuban musician, and after became a superstar at 70 years old. It's crazy, right? So can happen. The percentage is so small. So one advice I give to my daughter and to all the youngest there, bartenders, understand what you really want to do. You want to be the most incredible bartender in the world? Well, start to work on that. Make your competition program. Work in a good bar. Work with good people. Make your own stuff at home. Study. Don't watch just YouTube. There's books. The old ways are great. It's not just the new ways. There's a blend between two that can make you invincible. You want to open your own bar, start to work for different places. Become, bartender, head bartender, manager, restaurant manager. Understand how the kitchen work.
And write a list of what you didn't like.
Exactly,
there, and then,
exactly.
Yeah,
do the things in the opposite way. You got to see this in a very different angles. I passed, and I feel I'm 16, so I'm still very young and very handsome. When I see myself 10 years ago, I always wanted to open my own bar. Even 10 years ago, I just knew that I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the courage. I didn't make so many mistakes with other people's money. Because when you make your own mistake with your own money, you might close. When you
it's a lot harder making decisions when you own
course,
the place.
of course.
It's easy making decisions
So
with
easy.
other people's money.
And you got to do that.
Yeah.
Because if they trust you and you actually make shit happen, they will immediately understand the value of you. And maybe they're going to invest on you. So you don't actually, you open a bar without putting a cent, which is, I believe, is a dream. You know, there's very different angles. Depends. The biggest advice: understand what you want to do, and understand there's gonna be the hardest path, because nobody's giving you things for free. You know how many other people like you, like me, like you, that want to be the best in your field.
Yeah.
Like my daughter wants to become a singer and a dancer. You know what I repeat to her all the time? You know how many people want to do that? Millions.
Everybody.
You know how many people want to be Lady Gaga? How many people want to be Billie Eilish? How many people wanted to be John Lennon, Jimmy Andrews? Tell one. And I'm just like, I'm talking about millions. Like we talked about Nutcracker last time. People that dance Nutcracker, there are like 45 people a year, and they all just change. One show or one tour.
Yeah.
You know how many dancers there are around the world? 6 million?
Yeah.
Minimum. Maybe just in North America. I don't know numbers now, so I'm not going to talk. But, So,
Totally.
so this is something that you got to understand. That you got to embrace it and understand that there's a hard way that you got to come, and you got to do it right, and you got to do it progressionally. And don't lose the faith. Even if I don't have faith. As I said, I'm not religious. So you don't need faith. You need this. You need to be very positive. Sometimes, I see when I talk about, especially Uber drivers, I like to talk to people very often. And when we talk about with drivers, I always encounter that as soon as they become very positive, they start, why are you so positive? I believe that positivism is the beginning of everything. And be positive when things goes bad. Mm-hmm. It's something that I encountered in my life before, but I didn't encounter for many, many long time. And I'm not saying that I'm looking forward for it, because this is crazy. But at the same time, I know that it's going to happen sooner or later. And I want to see how we'll react on that. Because when everything goes well, it's very easy to be positive. But when everything goes bad, it's sometimes very, very hard. I'm not saying possible to be positive. But I believe there's some people that became so big, and that's what they did. Think about companies and, some brands were on the lower, Nike, Apple, that were going down like crazy. They could find solution and positivisms to rise up on those moments.
Yeah.
So obviously, I hope that doesn't happen. But, I believe that's when the strength comes in.
Genius. Well, thanks very much. That was a lot of beautiful stuff today.
It's
Appreciate
for
you,
me a
Massi.
pleasure.
Cheers.
Do what you do.